So this is video 2, and just kind of walking you through the modules and how my class works. So the way my class works is that students during class time, instructional time, are working their way through their lessons, and some students are going to work their way faster than others. So at the very top, when you go open the modules, is going to be what we're doing now. As of today, right now, you can't see a great deal. You can see this week, but not very far into the future. So the first thing is, what is a self-paced classroom? So ultimately, that page there just outlines what a self-paced classroom is, and why it's beneficial to students. So if a student is absent, they do not wait till they come back to get their makeup work. What they missed is available to them. We already have students that have been put into quarantine. If a student needs to quarantine, it is really important that they stay on top of their work so that they don't fall behind. If they don't do anything while they're quarantined, then that means they're really far behind when they get back. And so, in order to be able to stay up on your work, you just work your way off of Canvas. And if you need to take, when you take assessments, you'll do that when you get back. If a student is out and they are very sick, then I do not expect them to work when they're sick. They might. I work when I'm sick sometimes, but that's not really an expectation. But you have the lessons that you have, they don't get cut out. And so it is important just to keep up as much as you possibly can. At the beginning of every single unit, you're going to find a pacing tracker. So there is a classroom pacing tracker that we'll use, but there is a self-pacing tracker available to you. And I've gone ahead and made it for Unit 1 and for Unit 0. So we are starting on Unit 0, and then Unit 1 is going to be our course content. So the student self-pacing guide, I will make some printed copies of this so that students that want to keep a notebook or a folder have that printed copy access, and they can just mark it in pencil when they do assignments. But for other students that want to keep theirs on the computer or virtually, then they can keep this in their class folder virtually, and it's going to ask you to make a copy. So when you click on it, it says, would you like to make a copy? And you do want to make a copy. So when you click on make a copy, it's going to open up and it's going to show you a chart. And normally I just keep one unit at a time, but Unit 0 only has 2 things, so I didn't make 2 separate ones. So when it opens up, at the top, it'll tell you copy of unit outlines for foods. You can rename that whatever you want. At this point in time, and it's taken a minute to load the document, at this point in time, you own this. This is yours. You're not editing mine. You have your very own copy. And so a unit self-pacing tracker looks kind of like this. It is taking just a moment to load still. So the Unit 0 food influences that we're doing this week, which is just our second week of school, schedules are still fluctuating and changing. Some students are going to be moved into my class and out of my class. So this is just a get to know Canvas, get to know you activity, but this is your first summative grade. So your units look like this. You have a lesson number, a lesson title, the on pace date to complete. So this is the date that you should have these things if you're keeping track. And then you want to check the box when you have them done. So you have one lesson for food influences. This is the date. You pick your class block, and then you have one red, which is going to be summative project for the food influences. This is due on August 24th, and I'll do a quick little walkthrough video like we did in class for that. For your Unit 1, that's going to look a little bit more detailed than the very first week when we're not getting deep into it. Next week on Monday, we start getting a lot more into the first unit. At that time, then we start doing sanitation. Sanitation, how not to make people sick with pathogens, is the very first thing that you learn with me. So when you look here at your unit chart, you'll see U1, L1, Unit 1, Lesson 1. This is the title of that lesson. When you go to Canvas, that's the title of the day's lesson. You open it up and you'll have your lesson components. You do need to do all of the lesson components to be marked off for completed. For example, if there are 3 short ed puzzles on the Serve Safe Basics, then you need to complete all 3 of those, and then you check that box when you have completed. When you go to Infinite Campus and Canvas, these look the same that's on your tracking chart. In Infinite Campus, you'll see, a Unit 1 and then lessons. When it comes to your lesson assignments, your practice lessons, before you do an assessment, you will actually see those grouped together. So you have 4 lessons and then you have a quiz. If you do 2 of the 4, you get an F. That's a 50%. And it would say in Infinite Campus, it would say Unit 1, L1 through L4, an F, or an A if you do all 4, or a B. So the percentage that you've done of these gets kind of grouped together. When you go to Infinite Campus, you would say Unit 1, Quiz 1, Chapter 6 quiz, and your grade would be there. If it's in red on your tracking chart, that is an assessment, and those are done in class. They are not done at home. So unless we went to a full virtual, which I don't see happening, you will not do your assessments at home. You will do that in class where you're here with me. So for Unit 1, you have 4 lessons, and then you're ready for a quiz. You have 3 lessons, and then you're ready for a quiz. When it comes to a quiz, if you fail a quiz, you have to have done all of those lessons to retake that quiz. If you have done them, it's 24 hours. So you get a day to kind of study for that quiz. But you have the resources, you have the reviews and vocabularies for studying, and you can study before you take the quiz so then you don't have to take it again. The end of Unit 1 is due by September the 10th. So that means that you should have all of those lessons and all of those assessments done with a passing grade in order to do the first labs. Students that are not on pace will not be participating in the kitchen and doing those labs, particularly for this one because it's about being safe. So when it comes to in class, you might be able to knock out a couple of lessons quickly. Other students might need to go back and review if you are failing if you're failing the checks at the end, then you need to go back and kind of review. And there's resources in every lesson for you. So that's what that tracking chart looks like. And I'll show you what the module looks like. Let's go to the modules in teacher view so you can just kind of see that setup real quick. Awesome. So this is in my view. We're not in student view, so it looks a little different. But you have Unit 0. This video is going to be posted onto Unit 0. This is where you get your tracking charts. I'm actually going to move that I can move that tracking chart down to the correct module. You have Module 1. I'll talk to you about doing the presentation today. And then next week, you're going to move on, and you'll see here. So you'll see the dates. You'll see the lessons that you should complete in a given date range of time. And then the quizzes are not posted yet. So when things are posted, they'll be available. I have these lessons done, but they won't be actually posted and published until the end of the week. So this week we are focusing on Unit 0, and then next week we will move on to Unit 1, sanitation.